6:30. That means it's time to do a show. Let's get some coffee ready. The first cup mug is out of the dishwasher. So I got that. I got my tablet. What else do I need? Lights are on. I'm in a robe. I think that's pretty much everything. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Thursday, September 12th, 2019. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. You know, it's hard to believe I've been doing the show for over a year. For over a year, I've made sure I wake up in time to do this show at 6:30 a.m. I even did it on vacation. Was that last week? Week before? Time is blurry. And yeah, it's been a priority. Now, I've missed shows because of internet access or travel. I remember even in the early days, very early days, I did it 7 days a week. I remember doing the show from friends' living rooms and cars and things. Glad I stopped doing it on the weekends because I need to sleep in. And we learned that doing it at a consistent time is important. We learned that doing it on Facebook didn't work. Definitely didn't work on Instagram. It works pretty well here on YouTube. Yeah, I've learned a lot. This sounds like some foreboding statement, doesn't it? No, I'm not. Nothing's changing. I'm not canceling the show or anything. We are, and I think it's on my agenda for today, to finalize the details for a monthly Facebook Live. I'll be doing that, and I've got some fun stuff planned for that. But if you're following us, if you're paying attention to what's going on social media, you'll find that. You'll hear about it. And if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you should do that. Cool. Well, what was yesterday? Yesterday was me doing a bunch of work. Load a new t-shirt design up. Looked at doing a couple other things, a few other products that I just didn't like them. So I didn't go through with them. What else we got? Oh, got a bunch more helmets loaded in. There are a ton of them on their way to Amazon. Black and white only, unfortunately, but a bunch of them on whistlekick.com. So if you've been waiting on a black or white helmet, you should be good to go now. So check those out. Hoping to get more black and white gear soon. What else? What else, kitty? I was woken up this morning, a few hours ago, by the cat making a ridiculous noise. Sounded like she was dying. So I came out and found that the sleeping bag, one of the sleeping bags I had used on my vacation, which is hanging over a rack drying, she batted at one of the strings and got her foot caught. So she was stuck. And I had to free her because she's a big dork. I don't know if any of you out there have dorky pets, but she's a pretty big dork. She gets stuck. Sometimes she needs the bedspread and gets stuck and gets mad at me for it, like I've done something. And then when I go to free her, sometimes she will bite me. Why do we keep animals around? Well, so what's today? Today, recording a podcast episode. This morning, that'll be for Monday. Oh, it's Thursday. There's an episode. What episode did we do? Is today the episode with Gabe? Let me check. Hold on, library. My videos. Yeah. So episode 431 came out today. And this is with a man that I've been getting to know a bit more. friend of the show, a friend of martial arts radio, friend of whistlekick, really nice guy, Sensei Gabriel Siu. He and his wife Jenny have been following and commenting on whistlekick stuff for what feels like years. Maybe I'm exaggerating that, but I feel like I've seen their name for a while. And we've just slowly started talking more and more, and he reached out with a question about balancing his own personal training with teaching and trying to reconcile the two, and a lot of concerns he had. And I really liked it. I thought our conversation went really well. I know it was helpful for him. So doing a little bit of this, it's almost like martial arts therapy. This feels like the second or third episode that we've done in that vein. And I'm curious what people think. I like answering questions, I really do. But I also like being helpful. You know, the questions that I answer here, these are fun. These are, ask me anything, AMA sort of stuff. But on martial arts radio, we make sure there's a little bit more meat to it. So the idea of me answering questions that help people with the relationship to martial arts or themselves, that makes me feel really good. So we're talking about not changing the Thursday format, but maybe shifting a little bit more, making this a little bit more of a priority. Speaking of questions, we got some questions. If you want to ask a question, drop it below. I'll answer it tomorrow. Where do we go? Here we are. All right. Which sword from your collection is your favorite? Now, fortunately, I don't normally. I flipped through these questions before I started the show. And I'm glad I did, because I took a moment to think about this. There are two swords that are important. The first is the only live blade that I own, live blade being one with an edge designed to cut things, from Cold Steel. It's something I wanted for a very long time, and they ran a sale on their seconds, and I can't find anything wrong with this thing. But basically I got it for half price, still expensive. No heat, hold on. Hey Google, set the heat in the hallway to 55.
You got it. Setting the heat on hallway to 55 degrees.
My Nest thermostat has decided that, I think I shared this the other day, that it's time to start heating the house because it's wake up time. No, I don't want you to heat the house. It's still 60 outside. No, we gotta wait. Around Vermont, it's you try not to use your heat until October. That's like the big thing. We'll see if we get there. I mean, it's mid-September. Haven't come close to needing it yet. The house is still pretty warm. So swords. So we've got that sword, the one from Cold Steel, and then to celebrate my black belt, my mother took me into Chinatown in San Francisco and bought me a set of swords. And I remember being on the bus with them all wrapped up. This was very much pre 9/11, so we flew with swords in the cabin. I mean, can you imagine that now, flying with swords? No, we definitely flew with swords. It was my carry-on. And so I decided, after deliberating, that it's one of the swords from that set. So it's a mass market sword. There's nothing particularly special about this. It's probably on the nicer end of that mass market stuff. Fairly shiny. And I think this one hasn't rusted. I've got them oiled. I use coconut oil on my blades because it's cheap and easy, and I have it. The larger one, this is the smaller one in the set. The larger one has a little bit of rust on it. But the reason I chose this one is that, so back when I competed, I spent my first year or two using bow, staff. I think the next 2 years, I used sai, and I really enjoyed using sai, and I got good. And after a couple of years of, I'm going to be immodest here, really dominating the division, I had stepped up. I was a junior black belt, and was I? Yeah, I must have been. Yeah. And I decided it was time to do something different. So I, no, I'm busy. I'm on TV. I made up a form. I learned some sword from my instructors, the people I had around me, got a book, and put it together. And it was a sword. So I used this one in competition a bunch. And I have since learned a bit more about sword and learned that I was doing a ton of things wrong. Fortunately, most of the people around didn't know any more about sword, so I did okay in competition with it. But it was fun. It was fun to pick up a different weapon, and I would love to learn more. I've had the chance to train a little bit, very small amount of sword, and it's a good time. Understanding how a blade works versus just, you're not just clubbing things. People think about chopping with a sword, and it's not. It's you gotta, if you think about cutting with a knife, you have to create that action across. And so the same thing happens when you're striking. You can't just club. You have to slice, and that changes a lot of things in the way that you swing. So, yeah, it's a good question. I like those more personal questions, and I'm happy to do show and tell stuff. I just have to remember to look at the questions ahead of time, which I'm not good about. Question 2. Imagine for a moment, I like when a question starts this way. Imagine for a moment that you have traveled back in time. You've been challenged to a duel. You were given a choice of weapons, excluding explosives and firearms. What weapon would you choose? What I would choose would depend on a lot of variables. I am going to answer it, but here are the caveats. It would depend a lot on a lot of variables. If I knew what the other person was choosing, assuming it's a one-on-one duel, see, there are a few things that are going through my mind. The first is to use weapons that I feel competent and confident with. That would be bow, a knife, a couple of sticks, eskrima, a couple of rattan sticks, maybe a sword. But if you've done any weapon sparring, you know that there are some pretty dramatic advantages and disadvantages depending on the matchup. A person with a knife may not have range, but the moment they close inside, they're very fast. A bow has great range, but the moment you get within the edge, it's almost useless. I think my instinct is a couple of short swords, shorter than this. So this is it's like a 17, 18-inch blade. I'm thinking like a couple of maybe 12-inch blades or something like this, and maybe something shorter, something like that, and a knife. Because it gives me something long range, gives me something short range. I don't know if that counts, because that's kind of two different weapons. See, that's why it depends. Because I can imagine if I'm up against someone who has a very long sword, it's going to be hard to get on the inside of. Good morning, Jordan. I am well, thank you. Hope you are as well. So for the sake of argument, that's what we're going to say. We're going to assume that that's part of it, that I get to choose something for each hand. And we're going to take a medium to short sword and maybe a short sword to a knife. And we'll go with that. I don't know if you've done any weapon sparring, but it's really hard. It goes really fast, even if you're going slow. It's a whole different ballgame. And the consequences are so much bigger. I'm not even talking about sparring with edged weapons. You know, just to do a couple quick exchanges with even a foam sword. You see how quickly that exchange ends because, oh, look at that. You just chopped my carotid. Whoops. Now I'm dead. Good questions. Well, the homework for you today is pretty straightforward. What would you choose in that duel scenario? What would be important to you? Are you going to fight with the weapons that you know? Are you going to fight with the weapons that you think would give you the best advantage? Are you going to fight with weapons that facilitate you using your empty hand techniques? A lot of different ways to look at that. So I want to hear from you. What would you do? Drop that below. Or don't. Keep it to yourself. That's fine. Don't forget, we do the show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. But you can catch it later at firstcupwithjeremy.com or in your podcast app. I want to hear your questions. You can email me. You can drop them below, whatever you got. But I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. I'm going to go get ready for mine. Thanks for watching. Take care. Peace.